Memphis. It's time for Wolo Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall.
Well, no Dave again today, the last day that he will be out. He'll be back tomorrow, and I know a lot he'll want to get into tomorrow after the time he has missed, and he'll talk a lot of draft tomorrow because tonight is the NBA draft, only round one of the NBA draft. I want to talk about that a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of just the first round tonight, second round tomorrow night, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Elisha Seeger's with me again today. Elisha, have we completed our third and final mock draft?
The final one has been completed.
All right. Well, I'm excited about it. We'll get to that in a little bit. A lot to talk about today. It's going to be a lot of draft today with everything going on surrounding the draft. Very excited for tonight. But I do want to start with the fact that tonight we're getting only the first round. Second round will be tomorrow night. This is something new that they started last year, where last year is a little different. They had the first round of the draft one night, and then the next afternoon, they had the second round. So it was like middle of the day. I remember being up here, and in the middle of sports time, I remember doing sports time and having my iPad up, watching the second round of the draft, and that was where Jalen Wells got picked, and we were all going, okay, well, I don't really know this Jalen Wells guy, but this is who the Grizzlies have drafted, and it turned out being a great selection for them. So what do you think of the two-night, first round tonight, second round tomorrow night concept that we're going to get from ESPN?
Yeah, I don't really mind it personally. I think that it does a good job of shining more light on the second round guys. I think it gives them more of a platform for their names to be called and to have time to really look at their draft profiles. It is a little inconvenient seeming is, I guess, the biggest mark against it. But me personally, I don't mind it. I think it's worth taking a look at least to see if it sticks. And yeah, that's how I feel about it.
So I'm glad you said that, because that's what I hope. I hope that having look, there are a lot of people probably listening. There's probably a lot of people around the country that do not care about the second round of the NBA draft. And that's completely fine. I completely understand if you're like that. I enjoy watching the second round of the NBA draft because a lot of times it's guys mainly college guys that were good players at college, that it's just kind of question of can they be good in the NBA. And so it's fun to see those names. It's fun to hear those guys. And so I hope that the second round is where we're highlighting those second round guys, because the biggest complaint about doing both rounds in one night is that you would get to the second round and you would be talking about, first round guys, or you'd be doing interviews with first round guys throughout the second round, or, the notorious Nikola Jokic getting selected during a Taco Bell commercial. Those things happen. What I'm worried about, and I don't know who will be on the desk tonight for the NBA coverage. I know usually they have two coverages. They'll have a main coverage and then they'll kind of have a secondary coverage. I don't know who will be on those tonight. I don't know who will be on those tomorrow. My fear is that we're going to get to tomorrow night and it is going to be who won the draft or who won the first round last night. How did these teams get better? Like all kind of a recap of the first round, and then kind of intertwined in there is, Elisha Seegers just got drafted from Florida. This is what he did last year. What I hope we see tomorrow night, and again, this is not, this isn't, like, who cares at the end of the day, it's second round in the NBA draft. But I hope that we get guys like Jeremy Woo or Jonathan Givony or outsource guys that, have really watched these second round guys play, or, these international guys play, that they can come in and really break down these guys, like you said, and kind of be able to highlight it more. Because I think that'd be a lot of fun. And I don't know if that's what we're going to get. I guess we'll have to wait and see tomorrow night how it all plays out. But I'm really excited for tonight to see what happens in the first round. I'm excited to see what the Grizzlies will do, because I think, I was thinking about this last night. It feels like almost this year's draft isn't as big as it usually is. And when I say that, I don't mean nationally, because I do think it's a big draft nationally. I think there's a lot of fun names towards the top of the draft. I don't think it's as big here in Memphis. And I think the reason is because most people, since maybe even before the season ended, you kind of know what range of a draft pick you're going to have. And so you're watching these guys, you're watching March Madness, you're kind of seeing the mock drafts and trying to figure out, okay, I'd like this guy, I'd like this guy. Then you get to, your team gets eliminated from the playoffs, or you're not in the playoffs, and your entire focus goes on mock drafts and watching guys and all of this stuff and researching and figuring out who the guy that you want your team to draft, who that guy is. Well, we didn't really have that this year because for such a long time, nobody thought the Grizzlies were going to be in the first round. If anything, they were going to trade into the first round, and who knows where they're going to pick. Well, then the Grizzlies trade Desmond Bane, and now you have the 16th pick. And so I feel like it was almost kind of like dropped in there, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and you're like, okay, well, now we got to figure out who's around 16, who's the guy that they could take at 16. And so we talked about it last week. There's a couple names that I would not mind at all if the Grizzlies went out there and took a look at. But I just don't feel like it's as big. And I also think we're all kind of sitting here like, I've texted a bunch of my friends about the draft, a bunch of Grizzlies fans that I'm friends with about the draft, and they all say the same thing. And I think it's just based on history and based on what this front office has done. Who knows what they do? They could trade it. They could make the pick. They could draft somewhere else in the first round. Like, nobody really knows what's going to happen. I think it makes it interesting going into tonight, if you're a Grizzlies fan, of what will this team do? Will they make a move? Will they even draft someone in the first round? Or will they just sit there at number 16 and make the pick? What do you think, ultimately, if you are a fly on the wall with the front office for the Memphis Grizzlies, what conversations are being had right now, and what is the ultimate decision that they do tonight for this first round?
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about their timeline, what they have expressed of wanting to continue to work towards contention, I think that your first avenue should be to look to move the pick for an established player. Mm-hmm. I think that would be your best course of action. Now, when you look at a guy like that, you've got so much action on the open market right now. You have these tradable contracts that you've gotten from Orlando with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony. So you have some options. You have your young guys, of course, guys like Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams, guys who can be moved. And I look at a guy like, best case scenario, I look at a guy like Trey Murphy as a trade candidate, and I think, the Grizzlies made the trade in 2021 in that draft to trade up to draft Zaire Williams when in their original position the Pelicans took Trey Murphy with the Grizzlies pick. It would be poetic justice for the Grizzlies to end up with Trey Murphy via trade. But you look at guys like Malik Monk, who's been a name on the market now. I think Malik Monk could come in and give you a good shooting and playmaking and shot creation spark that you may be missing now with Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard likely being off the team as well. So I think that would be your best course of action if you're looking to adhere to that timeline. But I think all options are on the table, and that's what makes this draft so interesting for the Grizzlies, is that there are so many different directions that they can go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And, that's kind of how I've been viewing it for a while. And I saw this tweet last night. It's Parker Fleming, who covers the Grizzlies and does a really nice job doing it. He tweeted out, and I don't remember what this was around. I think it was a quote tweet, but I don't remember what it was quote tweeting. And he said that you look at both the teams that were in the NBA Finals this year, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, that they have shown that getting draft picks, getting guys, identifying the right players in the first round and getting them on cheap deals is the way to build a team with this, in this second apron world that we're now living in. When it's so hard to put together all these contracts and all this money, and guys are asking for so much money that, it's almost easier and it's almost better. It's a better idea to go out and get guys that are on these draft contracts so that maybe you can go out on free agency and add a piece here, add a piece there. So, I thought that was at least a view that I hadn't seen before. I hadn't really thought about it like that, and I do like that idea. So I want to get to your mock draft here in a second, but I just want you to tell me, don't tell me the teams, just tell me the players from, let's see, the Grizzlies are 16th. Give me guys on your list from 13 to 19. We'll do that kind of 3 each side of 16. Tell me those guys, so guys that you think will be in the range of where the Grizzlies will be drafting tonight if they make that draft pick.
Yeah, I think the pool of players that they will be looking at or around starting from the top end, I think you have Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina. I think Jaeger Dimon will be around that range from BYU. I've got Thomas Sorber as the lone center at this juncture from Georgetown. Mm-hmm. I've got Kasparas Yakichonis falling now to around this range. I also have Cedric Howard, of course, Asa Newell, Rasheer Fleming, and maybe Liam McNeely.
Okay. Where do you have Neat Clifford?
I have Neat Clifford falling a little bit to the mid-20s. I could very well see him going around this range as well, though. But he has fallen on my board a little bit.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, these are some interesting names. I know we've talked a lot about Cedric Howard and what, that feels like looking at mock drafts the last, 48 hours or so. It feels like he's kind of the consensus right now for the Grizzlies. And he's a guy that we talked about. I'd be completely fine if they take Cedric Howard. I actually want to bring this up because one of my buddies sent me this last night or yesterday afternoon. And when he sent it to me, because we were talking about, who do you want the Grizzlies to take? Who do you want the Grizzlies to take? And I was kind of saying, yeah, just honestly at this point, just give me Neek and I'll be completely fine. And he sent this picture, and it was about guys that had the same wingspan that Cedric Howard has. It's like 7'2", I think. And I don't think I'm going to be able to find it, but if I go back enough, I'll be able to find it. But basically, that wingspan, the players that were drafted and had that wingspan at the draft, it's like, I mean, the guys that are listed there they're all awesome. And so I was like, yeah, no, I'm sold on him. He can shoot the ball. He's been a good defender everywhere he's been at. Now, the thing about him is, well, he played at Eastern Washington. He played at Division III before that. Can he make that transition to the NBA, and how long will that take? That's a good question. So here it is. Wings with a 7'2" wingspan taken in the first round since 2016. Here's the list, and tell me which one of these guys you would not want to have on your team, okay? Pascal Siakam.
Great player.
OG Anunoby.
Another great player.
Mikal Bridges.
Another great player.
PJ Washington.
Very good player.
Rui Hachimura.
Good player.
Scotty Barnes.
Very good player.
J-Dub.
Very good player.
Now, I think these three we get into the kind of unproven, but still, Tari Eason.
Very, very good player.
Bilal Coulibaly.
He will be a very good player.
Jarris Walker.
Will be a very good player.
So,
no misses.
No misses. I'm sold. When you give me that, I think I'm sold. I think I will take Cedric Howard if I'm in that range. But let's go through these. So, Murray Boyles. We've gotten some texts about Murray Boyles the last couple of days of people saying that they would love to have Murray Boyles if he's still at 16. I've talked to other people that I'm just friends, no insiders or anything like that about this. I've been just trying to gauge the fan base of like, what do Grizzly fans want? I've talked to some people, my brother is included in this, who do not like Colin Murray Boyles and do not want the Grizzlies to take Colin Murray Boyles. Where are you at if he's there at 16? How do you view Colin Murray Boyles?
Yeah, he's on the lower side for me. I am not the highest on Colin Murray Boyles. I think that he has the potential to be a very good defensive and playmaking option as a pseudo 4 / maybe small ball 5. Mm-hmm. But the shooting is just the biggest question. He's undersized, and you just don't know where exactly he would fit on a team like the Grizzlies, especially. He most of his game at South Carolina was predicated from him facing up at about 15 to 18 feet. And in the NBA, you have to have a very specific set of teammates to do that and play in a very specific system. And I don't think the Grizzlies will want to do that. Yeah. So I don't see him as a realistic option here for the Grizzlies at 16, even if he is still on the board. But I do think that he'll find a team where he can fit, but it's not Memphis for me.
Yeah. Yegor Dimin, the guard, spent 1 year at BYU from Russia. A great passer, a good defender. The shooting is the issue. Was a 27% three-point shooter last year at BYU. What do you think of Diego? He's a guy that I really enjoyed watching play. I think we talked about that yesterday. Before the season, one of our guests in the afternoon came on and said, "Here are two foreign guys that to keep an eye on. One was Yegor Dimin and one was Yakachunas." I watched a lot of both those guys and enjoyed watching both those guys play last year. But Yegor Dimin, where are you at with him?
Yeah, he shows me a lot of Josh Giddey. I get a lot of Josh Giddey from Yegor Dimin in the way that he is able to play with pace. He's a good playmaker. He's a very high basketball IQ player. Like you said, the shot is a question, but from his combine, he had a really good shooting combine by his standards. So I think that shooting will not be a big problem for Yegor Dimin. And the size profile is just great.
Yeah.
At 6'9", he projects to be a guy who can play anywhere from the 1 to the 3 if need be. Another fit though with the Grizzlies where you have your questions just based on Thomas Isolo's system. Although I think that he could be a guy that could realistically be picked here if he's still on the board. It would just be kind of weird to me still, but I expect him to go off the board before 16. Quite honestly.
Yeah, I do as well. Thomas Sorber. The big question there is, do you want to take a forward center, kind of 6'10" guy when you just drafted a center last year, but a guy that was awesome at Georgetown last year. I don't think they're going to take a guy like that. The Grizzlies would take a guy like that even if Sorber's there. I know I've seen some mock drafts where Sorber is still there at 16. I just don't think they go with that big of a guy with that pick when you just drafted Zach Edey last year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. He's a guy that projects to be a good center. He has very high defensive upside, but like you said, with the players that the Grizzlies have at the center position, and if they were to go get a center, I think that they would want to go get an established center to maybe fill a void for a short amount of time, rather than draft another center like they did last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kaspars Yakachunas, a guy last year, did a lot of things really well. You look at his stats: 15 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game, a 6'6" guard. I think shooting was a question for him last year as well, but I think that might have just been a blip for him. At Illinois, this is a guy that coming in, a lot of people thought he was a really good shooter. Not like a knockdown shooter by any means, but a guy that could shoot the ball, and only 31% last year. I say if Yakachunas is there at 16, I think you might have to take him.
I'm in full agreement for the talent level and for the offensive potential, especially in Tomas Isolo's system. I think it would be a great fit. I think he has questions on the defensive end, of course, but his size profile at 6'5" as a point guard would be really, really nice. My comp for him is Brandon Podziemski. I think he flashes a lot of Brandon Podziemski.
I like that a lot. Cedric Coward. We talked about him a lot, so I don't think we need to spend much time on him. Where are you at? Because I have heard a lot of he only played, mid to high level Division I basketball for 1 year. Before that, he was at Eastern Washington. The year he was at Eastern Washington, that was the year that Eastern Washington went on like a 22-game win streak. They were awesome, really good team. But I have heard a lot of people question, has he proven enough? But this is a guy that, there's one thing, and I know there are misses at times, but when you go through a draft process and everyone says that guy has it, it reminds me a lot of Jalen Williams, where Jalen Williams was at Santa Clara. Not many people were talking about him during the season. He kind of plays the whole season out. We get to the draft process, and everyone goes, that guy's got it. That guy is good. That guy's going to be a lottery pick. He ends up going to the Thunder, and now we're seeing in year 3, could have made an argument that maybe he should have gotten more votes for Finals MVP with what he did was incredible. So Cedric Coward, to me at least, feels like has a lot of J-dub in him in terms of kind of that process of, underlooked guy, but all the scouts are saying this guy's got it. For some reason, I want to trust the scouts. Not all these scouts are wrong.
Yeah, the sample size is big enough for me to say that what we saw from him was legit. When I look at him, I just see so much of OG Anunoby, like one of the guys you just
Well,
mentioned.
yeah.
He flashes so much OG Anunoby to me, where the rebounding is there, the three-point shooting is legit. He had a very impressive combine shooting the ball, and the size profile, I just think it all fits perfectly. And I think that the Grizzlies will ultimately end up, if they do keep the pick, I think that they will end up going with one of these older guys.
Yeah.
Cedric Coward is a guy who can come in and get real rotational minutes right away. So I do think that prototypically he is probably the best fit at this pick.
And that's a good point you make, because I hear so many people talking about, well, Kleiman said he doesn't want to get younger. That means they're not going to make a draft pick. Well, there's a big difference of drafting someone that's 24 years old and drafting someone that's 18, or 19 years old. There's a massive difference there. So, yeah, I would not be surprised if, they keep that pick and target one of these older guys in the draft. Let's get through the rest of these guys that are kind of in that range, and then we'll get to a break. We'll come back. We'll look at your mock draft. We'll also need to talk about the trade that went down last night with Kristaps Porzingis going to the Atlanta Hawks. But let's get through these last couple of names that could be on the board. Asanuel, another guy, kind of a bigger guy, a forward. I know DeMichael Cole was on with the morning crew this morning. I don't know if he said this, but we had him on during sports time on Monday, and he said that in his opinion, just his opinion, he said nobody has told him this in the organization, but he thinks that if the Grizzlies make a pick, that they are going to target more of a wing guard guy instead of a forward, because you've got Jaren down there. You're going to try to get Santi back. You've got Brandon Clark. Unless you move one of those guys or don't bring Santi back, you're pretty full in the forwards. So Asanuel, I'm curious, what is your comp for Asanuel?
I have Precious Achua and Chris Boucher.
Okay, all right. I kind of like both those guys. So that is not a. I don't mind that at all. Because we probably won't get this deep into your mock draft, where do you have Newell going?
I actually have him going one pick above to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That'd be a great pick for OKC.
Yeah, he's a floor spacer. He does a lot of the same things that the other Jalen Williams does, but I think that he, especially on an established playoff team already, could come in and give some nice three-point shooting, some good floor spacing if need be.
And OKC has shown that they are a franchise where once they get you in there, they're able to kind of, I don't want to say convince you or whatever, but they get you to buy in, and it's like you probably won't play a ton. You might spend some time down in the G League. It's not going to be we're drafting you in the first round and you're day one going to be out there as a starter. You're going to sit, but we're so good that you're going to be learning from great guys. You're going to be learning from great coaches. You'll get in there eventually. And I think you saw that with a lot of their young guys. I mean, Dylan Jones was a first-round pick and spent most of the season in the G League with OKC's G League team. You talk about Cason Wallace. It felt like a game-by-game basis of, is he even going to play at all? Or, is he just going to sit on the bench? And so I think that'd be a good organization for, as young as he is, to go there and just kind of be able to, sit and really develop in OKC, because they're not a team where they're not rushing anything. They can develop you in 2 years. We're talking about Newell as could be a big time factor for OKC. So I really like that fit a ton. Liam McNeely.
He's a tough one for me, because if you asked me a few months ago, I could see him going like top 10, top 12, but he has fallen a little bit. He had a really, really good shooting combine, and it's come out that he was playing injured apparently through the last half of the season for UConn.
Yeah.
My biggest comps for him, I think Corey Kispert from the Washington Wizards is a good one. I also think Dean Wade from the Cavaliers
Two good ones.
fits the size profile. But he's a guy, he would help with three-point shooting, which is something the Grizzlies lack right now. And he is a guy who could give you some positional versatility, guy who could play really anywhere from the 2 to the 4. And he played with some really good players at Montverde Academy and then at UConn. So he's comes from a winning pedigree. So I think that draws interest from some teams as well.
Get ready. That's going to be a big storyline tonight, is that Montverde team, because you had Liam McNeely, you had Cooper Flagg, you had, who else in this draft was on
Derek
that
Queen.
Derek Queen was on that team. Is there anybody else in
and
this?
Asa Newell.
And Newell. And then there's a couple more guys that are still playing college basketball from that team that are good players. I think one's at UConn, maybe.
Rob Wright at BYU now.
Rob Wright at BYU. Yeah, so no, that team was loaded, and they're going to talk a lot about that with how many guys are going to be drafted tonight from that. Liam McNeely, you made a good point. I think we saw him get injured in that Memphis game. And it really just never felt like he got right after that. It was that injury. There was another injury a little later in the season. And just never felt like he got right. So that's a good observation by you. Last one, I know this is not a guy that you had in your range, but it's a guy that I've seen a lot of people talking about, a guy that Tiger fans are familiar with, and that is Nick Clifford, a guy that had a great season at Colorado State. We obviously all got familiar with him in the NCAA tournament when we were getting ready for that game, and then just seeing what he did against the Tigers in that game. Where are you at with Nick Clifford? What is your player comparison for Nick Clifford going into tonight? And where do you have him being selected?
Yeah, so he's fallen for me a little bit. In my first mock draft, I had him as high as 11 to the Trailblazers, but now I have him falling all the way to the mid-20s to the Orlando Magic. So I could see him really anywhere in that range. He's a big-time wild card in this draft, I feel like. And my player comps are Josh Hart, because he's a really good rebounding guard, can stretch if need be, and he's got a lot of downhill playmaking ability. And Dylan Brooks with his defensive profile.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like that. I like both of those a lot. So I think it's going to be a fun night. I think a lot of different options for the Grizzlies. Keith texted in and kind of said what we were saying earlier. This is the text from Keith. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think the Grizzlies should try to find a proven veteran because we have specific needs. We don't need to get younger on a starting five right now. I'm with you. If you can use that 16th pick, we talked about it, and we're seeing a lot of first-round picks being traded in the last couple of days, but I brought it up yesterday, and I think it's the same now. I mean, I don't really know, but when I counted it up yesterday morning, there were only 7 teams selecting in the first round of the NBA draft that were over 500 last year, which is crazy to even think. But, if you can find a team that once a young guy is maybe in that rebuilding mode, I've seen some mock drafts. I know Sacramento is open for offers, and I don't know if they have a first-round pick this year. So maybe you can find a team like that is willing to offload some guys or willing to make some moves and wants a first-round pick. And I think if you can find that and you can get a guy that you think can help you right now, a guy that's proven, maybe not a guy that's, a massive contract and a big-time factor, but a guy that is a veteran, has been around this league for a while that you think can help you, I think you got to make the move and make that trade. So a lot of different options for the Grizzlies. I'm excited to see how it plays out later tonight. But we need to get to a break, and when we return, we're going to get to at least the top of Elisha's mock draft, talk a little bit more about the top of this draft tonight. We also got to talk about the trade that went down last night. Also, I should remind everyone that we will get to golf picks at the end of the show in our final segment. But let's get to a break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56 and 95 FM.
Take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. Shoot 360 is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification and provides instant, objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. And now, introducing Shoot 360 for you, a newly renovated 50,000 square foot facility with 2 NBA regulation-sized courts, 3 high school-sized courts, and 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. Memberships are now on a monthly basis. And yes, you can become a member in both locations. Whether you're an aspiring young talent, NBA player, or looking for a unique workout, all skill levels are have to turn corners and turn heads in your new Gossett Kia from Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike. Discover peace of mind in your new Kia with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. How about $5 a day in 2025 Kia K4 LXS, $150 a month. 2025 Kia K5 LXS, we Gossett $265 a month. 2025 Sportage $275 a month. And 2025 Kia Telluride S $359 a month. We Gossett covered for every family and every budget at Gossett Kia on the Pike. All $49.99 new signing, 24-month lease. Ask for Bobby J. He's waiting to put you in your new Kia today. Gossett Kia, 1900 Covington Pike, online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Acquisition fee 20,000 miles per year. K4 SE 137,210, MSRP 24,340, K5 S 536,6209, MSRP 29,170, Sportage SG 271,1755, MSRP 34,115, Telluride SG 66, 2001, MSRP 41,060. Must finance through KFA, excludes tax title and license with approved credit dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 07225. Jenkins Floors and More invites you to the retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. Also stores in Cleveland, Mississippi and Little Rock. They specialize in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters and blinds. Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Welcome back in to Wolo and Friends. Bryant and Elisha filling in for Dave. Dave will be back tomorrow morning, but a lot to get to. We talked about the Grizzlies and their options tonight, who could be in that range for them if and when they make that pick at number 16. I want to get to the top of the draft now. Elisha has gone through and done multiple mock drafts. This is his third and final mock draft for the first round. So I at least want to get through the top 10 of this mock draft. So let me pull up my handy-dandy cheat sheet of a mock draft, which is really just my bets that I've made on the first round of the draft. So go ahead, start us off from the top, and I think we know what number 1 and number 2 is. I think the biggest questions come at number 3.
Yeah, so of course we have Cooper Flagg at number 1 going to Dallas and Dylan Harper going at number 2 to the Spurs. However, I don't know if that pick will stay with the Spurs anymore. I think with Brooklyn's acquisition of a lot of first-round picks now, I think they could make a play.
Ooh,
I think
that's
Cam
interesting.
Johnson and some of those picks could be moved to San Antonio.
So, all right, now let me ask you this. If that is the trade, if Brooklyn trades up to number 2, let's just say that happens tonight, okay? Do they still take Dylan Harper?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so Dylan Harper is still the number 2 pick, no doubt about it.
So Dylan Harper will still go at 2. I've got VJ Edgecombe going at 3 to the 76ers. I know you have a bet on that.
Sure do.
I have Con Knipple going at 4 to the Charlotte Hornets.
I also
I
have a bet
have
on
Ace
that.
Bailey going at 5 to the Utah Jazz. I considered moving him down to the Wizards, but I think he'll stay at the Jazz.
Okay, interesting. I saw yesterday somebody put out, and I don't know the who put this out or how credible it is, but said that the 3 places Ace Bailey wants to play at are Washington, who has the 6th pick, Brooklyn, who has the 8th pick. I don't remember the other one. Maybe New Orleans?
I think I did see New Orleans,
Okay,
yeah.
so those 3 places, that is 6, 7, 8. And so, but you think he goes number 5. I've seen a lot of people in this mock draft, I don't know when this mock draft is from, that I just clicked on. I've seen a lot of people having Trey Johnson at number 5 to Utah. Why do you have Ace Bailey over Trey Johnson?
I just think the talent level is too high. I think Danny Ainge being the GM in Utah, he's a pretty stubborn GM, and regardless of whether Ace Bailey works out in Utah or not, whether he wants to be there or not, especially initially, I think Danny Ainge will do what's the best move for the organization. However, I do think that this is my mock draft without any trades. I do
Yeah.
believe that there is a possibility that a team will trade up to either 3 or 4 and potentially pick Ace Bailey. That could be the Brooklyn Nets. Like I said, I think that they end up moving into the top 4 in this draft with some of their picks. Another team that could be interesting in doing so is, crazy enough as it sounds, the Oklahoma City Thunder have been
Yeah.
rumored to want to move into the top 10, and they have the assets to do so.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing, and especially for me, a guy that is betting on the first round in the top 5, you get a little worried about the trades, and so I could definitely see a trade. But hey, I'm gonna have to go look at those odds for Ace Bailey at number 5, and depending on how good they are, might have to pull the trigger on that, because I was seeing yesterday Trey Johnson like minus like 320 to go number 5 to Utah. Now you're saying you think Ace Bailey could go there. I just pulled up Tankathon's mock draft, and they have Ace Bailey going number 5 to Utah. So maybe we see that. I'm assuming number 6 is Trey Johnson.
Yeah, number 6 is Trey Johnson. I think he's the best pure shooter in this draft. I have him comped to Jordan Poole and Buddy Hield. I think that he has a little bit of erraticness to his game. He has a little bit of the shot profile similar to Ace Bailey, where some of the shots he takes, you're like, was that really the best shot to take? But some of them go in, and he's a really, really microwave shooter. So I think that wherever he goes, he will be an entertaining player. So I think the Wizards would be a good spot for him to kind of grow and develop.
Yeah.
I have Kaman Malawach, the first center, taken off the board, going to the Pelicans at 7. Jeremiah Fears going to the Nets at 8 as a point guard. I have Noah Esingeh going to the Raptors at number 9. They seem to like him a lot. And Derek Queen going to the Suns at 10.
Ooh. Okay, I like. So you don't have Jeremiah Fears in your top 10.
I had Jeremiah Fears going 8 to the Brooklyn Nets.
8. I missed that. Okay, interesting. Okay, so here are my bets. All right, I'm just gonna let you know my bets and you can tell me, because I think 2 of them, the last 2, are just based on the number I was able to get for both of them. Okay, and being that I've seen both their names in the top 10 in multiple mock drafts. So I've already told you I've got number 3. I've got VJ Edgecombe. I have a bet on Con Knipple being the number 4th pick, and then I have a bet on, this is where I'm literally just playing the numbers here, so let's keep that in mind. I have a bet on, if I can pull it up, I have a bet on Colin Murray Boyles being in the top 10, and I have a bet on, who was the other bet? Carter Bryant being in the top 10. 2 guys that I think could be drafted in the top 10. Colin Murray Boyles, the odds were just so good, plus 275. This is a guy that you see, supposedly Phoenix really likes him, where they're at 10. And Carter Bryant just seems like a guy that has so much upside that I would not be surprised if someone traded up, like maybe traded to that 8 or 9 pick.
I could see him being a Toronto Raptor.
Yeah, like I could just see him fitting somewhere, someone moving up just so that he doesn't get past or he doesn't get taken before them. Someone moving up for a guy like Carter Bryant. So both those were just based on the numbers. Your mock draft doesn't give me a lot of hope for either of them. What do you think about those 2?
I would be pretty surprised if Colin Murray Boyles got picked in the top 10. I'm not going to lie. I said, I'm not.
I'll be completely honest. I would too. Again, that was just based on the numbers and seeing a handful of mock drafts having him go to number 10 at Phoenix. I was like, might as well just pull the trigger, because if he does go 10, hey, then that's a big time winning bet.
Yeah. I also think that there will be one of these players, I can't say who, in the top 10 that will fall significantly. It seems to happen in every draft. I can't say who it will be, and there will also be a player who's probably within like the 15 to 24 range who will be picked in the top 10. It seems to always happen. Some teams always seems to reach. It's going to be interesting to see who. So maybe that player is Colin Murray Boyles.
Yeah, that's a great point. And something you said about Trey Johnson that I wanted to go back to. I was watching who was it that I was watching yesterday, and they were doing a mock draft, and they were talking about Trey Johnson, and they said everyone talks about him as a shooter, and great shooter, no ceilings, who they do great job with their draft process. They said he does a great job with his shooting, but his passing is something that is overlooked, and that he's a really good passer. And that I didn't know this. I knew I watched a lot of Trey Johnson last year at Texas and knew he was a pretty good passer, but I did not know this information. he was at Link Academy prior to joining Texas. And at Link Academy, when they recruited him in and brought him in, they said, I guess they brought him in as either a sophomore or a junior, and they said, we're going to get you a point guard. We want you to play as a shooting guard, but right now we don't have a point guard. We're going to need you to run point. He ran point his entire junior year, and then senior year, they still didn't go out and get a point guard. And they said, you're going to have to be our point guard again. So his last 2 years of high school, playing at Link Academy, so playing some of the best high school teams in the country and whatever, he played point guard. And so, they were saying that he has experience playing point guard and is a good passer. So I really like Trey Johnson. I loved what I saw from him last year. And so I would not be surprised at all if he gets taken.
I could see him going
high.
as high as 3.
Yeah, I could too. I mean, he really is. There are some wild, like this. What makes this draft fun is there are so many wild cards of where they go. Because Trey Johnson, he could go anywhere. Con Knipple could go anywhere. Jeremiah Fears is a guy that could go. I've seen him anywhere between 5 and like 11 on just various mock drafts. Yakachonis is a one that it feels like nobody really knows where to put him. Derek Queen, another guy where it feels like he's all over the place. Colin Murray Boyles is a guy that's all over the place. Like, there are very few players in this draft that it feels like they are hammered down to like a 3-spot area. It's just everyone is kind of, anybody can go anywhere in this draft is what it feels like.
Yeah, no, for sure. Which makes it one of the more interesting drafts that I have personally covered, watched, and anticipate since my time watching the NBA over the past 12 years. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. We'll see what happens later tonight. We'll see what type of moves. It feels like a lot of trades could go down in this draft later tonight. Again, only the first round tonight. We'll get to the second round tomorrow. I'm just looking at this one, Tankathon. I don't really use Tankathon as a mock draft, but it was just the first one that I clicked on today to just so I could have the draft order in front of me. They have Cam Jones going 30th to the Clippers. That would be awesome. If Cam Jones, the Memphian, who played his college career at Marquette, if he could go in the first round, I think that would be awesome. Definitely going to keep an eye on him to see if he can maybe slide into the first round. Just an unbelievable career at Marquette. Well, we need to get to another break, and when we return, we're going to get to some golf picks. I've heard that Dave has done some winning, some at least better picking, and is not picking last anymore. So maybe I can continue that good picking, hopefully, at least. Don't go anywhere. We'll get to golf picks next. You're listening to Wolo and Friends.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Everything today is technologically based. Well, except maybe you. If you're struggling with tech, no matter what kind, call Tech for You. Tech for You for TVs, home theaters, cameras, smart locks, digital storage, and more. Tech for You makes it simple and affordable. 697-9695. Make your home safe, comfortable, and up to date with Tech for You. Stop struggling with tech. Call 697-9695. Veteran owned and operated Tech for You. Technology simplified.
Air. We breathe it naturally. Simple, right? Not so fast. The air you breathe could be hazardous to your health. Don't guess. Be sure with a phone call to the Memphis Mold Inspector, the only licensed mold assessor in the Mid-South. Call the Memphis Mold Inspector to check the air quality inside your home or office. Call 901-292-7788 for clean air and peace of mind. 901-292-7788 or visit memphismoldinspector.com.
I've got it on the line, Marty McNeil over at Gossip Volkswagen Germantown, and he's ready to put you in a new Volkswagen today.
That's right, Randy. Guess what I've got available now? 2025 Jettas and 2025 Toyotas, 4.9% for 60 months. I've also got 25 Atlas and Atlas Cross Sports, 3.9% for 60 months.
What else you got over there, Marty McNeil?
On top of that, get 1,500 loyalty rebate on all 2025 GTIs, Jettas, Teos, Tiguans, Atlas, and Atlas Cross Sports.
And you were telling me earlier you got $5,000 off 2024 Atlas Cross Sport CLR lines, but only 2 left, so you got to hurry.
So come see me today, Marty McNeil at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown, 7420 Winchester Road, or shop online at GossipVWG.com. And remember, your
Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now. 800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require product modification. Federal termination for the anti-auto pack. Restrictions apply. Call for details. Pools, and more pools. Yes, it is pool time at Family Leisure. Family Leisure is already booking pool installs, so you need to buy now and get on that list. 24-foot pools start at $19.99 install. Liners are starting at $2.99. You're going to need some pool accessories, so they're all up to 20% off. Not quite ready for a pool? That's fine. Get a 5 or 6 person hot tub starting at under $7,000. You can also go for a swim spa or perhaps a cold plunge tub. Those are now $2,000 off. Get patio furniture up to 50% off on select sets. Buy your pool now. Get on that install list. Mention this commercial, and your install is free. That's underlined in the in bold print, so you know it's big. It's pool time at Family Leisure. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
I'm Finley Lavin, defender for University of Memphis Women's Soccer. Southern Security has the perfect low-interest rewards credit card. Variable annual percentage rates ranging from 15 to 18% and may increase at any time. Transfer your high-interest credit card balances to a Southern Security Rewards Visa today. Don't miss out on low rates and no transfer fees until December 31st, 2024. Apply today at southernsecurity.org or call our member service team 901-452-7900. Southern Security is a proud supporter of the University of Memphis Athletics, federally insured by NCUA.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Welcome back in to Wolo and Friends. Bryant and Elisha filling in. Dave, he's going to be back tomorrow, but we do have to make golf picks. I tell you, Elisha, it's like the most pressure that I face in my week when Dave is out and I have to make golf picks for him. Like, I feel like the whole weight of the world is on my shoulders.
Pressure's on.
Pressure is on. I got to make the right pick, but we will get to that here in a little bit. Johnny Lyons, Greg Hines, and Mickey Barker join us this morning, I should say. But I want to get to what we saw last week. Johnny, we'll start with you. Keegan Bradley, his come-from-behind win over the weekend. What'd you make of that? A couple big-time clutch putts in that final round down the stretch. What did you make of what you saw from Keegan Bradley?
Well, it's good to be on the show. Heard Wolo's out of town. But, yeah, it was exciting last week. You know, our Ryder Cup captain turned it on, wore his Tiger red shirt on Sunday, and sort of humiliated, you know, mine's gone blank.
Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, Fleetwood, yeah. And, you know, that little putt that he missed, you know, they've showed it over and over on the Internet. Looks like it hit a little pebble right before it got to the hole. But, yeah, he's a good champion, and it was a good win.
Yeah, no, it was really fun to watch. Speaking of Tommy Fleetwood, Mickey, it's just Tommy Fleetwood, a guy that, you know, has been around a while. You know, everyone knows his name. He's been a good golfer, but just the wins have not been there for him. It was right there for the taking. He just let it go. Mickey, what did you see from Tommy Fleetwood on that side? You know, letting that get away from him Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it just seems like he's a different player from when he is really in Europe, when he's playing over there where he's won 7 times, and when he's on the Ryder Cup team. He's a clutch performer in the Ryder Cup, but when it comes down to individual events on the PGA Tour, which seems like he really wants badly, he struggles closing the deal.
Yeah.
It's amazing. He's a very popular figure, especially among younger people around in the United States. They love him. I don't know if it's the long hair or what, but we talked about that yesterday on the show. And just he's very popular with the kids around here.
Oh, yeah. No, very popular. And just, you know, like I said, everyone knows who he is. I think everyone, you know, enjoys watching him play. It's just has not been able to find that success here in the United States. Greg, lastly, before we get to these picks, I've heard so many people talk about the current schedule for the PGA Tour, the signature events, how the majors are set up now. How do you view the schedule for the PGA Tour right now? What would you change about it, if anything?
That's a good question. I do think Tommy Fleetwood will win one sooner rather than later. He's too good not to, and he's too solid for sure. But as far as the schedule, it's interesting that, these signature events and how much money's out there now. And, it's going to be interesting in 3-4 years to see what exactly has come of the tour because of that. And, the players and who changes and maybe we know 50 players' names better than we do the rest of them. I'm not sure, but, I don't know that I'd change a whole lot. I mean, I love the FedEx Cup playoffs. I love that it comes through Memphis, and so I feel pretty good about where it's at.
Yeah, and we'll see, obviously, with a new commissioner here in the next couple of years, how much, if anything, changes once we get a new guy in. But Elisha, we got to get to the picks. I'm leaving the order to you, so start us off.
Yeah, a little standings update going into this week. Leading us off today and in fourth place will be Greg. He currently sits at $9.36 million. Brian, you'll be going second in place of Dave, who currently sits at $10.29 million. Johnny Line will be going third, sitting at second place with $13.31 million, and Mickey, who is leading the pack pretty far and away, $16.02 million with Tommy Fleetwood's second place finish last week.
All right. So, Greg, start us off.
It's hard not to pick Cam Young, two-time winner. His only 2 wins on tour happen to be at this facility, so we'll go Cam Young.
All right. My pick now, Elisha. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Colin Morikawa.
All right, Johnny's turn.
Okay, all right. I'm going to stick with Keegan Bradley again.
Yeah.
All right,
Hot.
that brings up Mickey.
All right, he's got to start playing a little better at some point. I'll go with Patrick Cantlay.
I like that pick. Now up to the top.
Who did you pick? I'm sorry, I missed that one.
He picked Patrick Cantlay.
Absolutely.
I like the pick. All right, back up to Greg Hines.
Yeah, I think he's playing as well as anybody on tour right now, and that's Ben Griffin.
Yeah, no, that's a really good pick. I was hoping he was going to be there for my second pick. Let's see. I will go with Wyndham Clark with my second pick.
All right, Johnny.
Okay, we'll give we'll try Rasmus Højgaard.
All right, Mickey.
Siwoo Kim. Let's give him another try. He's made a little money for me.
I like that. I like that a lot.
All right, coming back to me, I really like this young man. I think he's an up-and-comer on tour, been out there a few years. Davis Thompson.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go with Keith Mitchell.
All right, Johnny, last pick.
We'll try Jake Knapp.
Ooh, I like that pick.
Yeah.
Love Jake Knapp.
All right, Mickey, last pick.
Let's go off the wall a little bit. Max Grazerman hits at 9 miles.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. It's a really good pick. All right, so all the picks are done for this weekend at the Rocket Classic. We'll see how it all comes out and who's the winner again this week. But, guys, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of y'all's week, and Dave will be back next Wednesday when we talk again. All right, another good week of golf picks. Definitely appreciate Johnny, Mickey, and Greg for joining us every single week making golf picks. And should be a fun weekend. We were talking about it. Landon and I were talking about it during the last break of a couple of those top guys not in it this weekend. So made those golf picks a little bit tougher. But I know what's going to happen. I know if Keegan Bradley goes out there and wins again this weekend, and my picks really struggle, Dave's going to have a talking with me. He's going to say you're not picking the way you need to be picked. So a lot of pressure on me to make these picks and make them right. Last thing I wanted to get to before we got out here with just a couple minutes, the trade that went down last night. Celtics, Hawks, and then the Brooklyn Nets also in there as the third team to make the trade go down. What were your thoughts on that? The biggest pieces of that was Kristaps Porzingis going to Atlanta, Georges Niang going to the Celtics. What did you make of what we saw with that trade last night?
Yeah, Celtics said that they were going to be aggressive in getting below the second apron, and they were able to do that last night with moving Kristaps Porzingis. Not really a big-time return or anything with Georges Niang, who is an aging combo forward, I guess. Played sparingly with the Atlanta Hawks, played a little more down the stretch. But, yeah, Brooklyn Nets get involved, get another first-round pick, and Terrence Mann, who's a player that you can take a flyer on at this point. So I think every team accomplished what they wanted to in this trade, but especially the Celtics, who are now under the second apron and can operate with more freedom going forward.
Yeah, no, they definitely can. And like you mentioned, they said they were going to do that. That was obviously a priority for them, and they definitely did that. So it was a good trade, I think. It's the Celtics, what they wanted to do, and now we'll see what moves we see. Maybe a couple moves before the draft starts later tonight, and we know we'll be seeing some moves during the draft. Going to be a lot of fun tonight watching the first round, but that's all the time we have today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you to Elisha for being with me this morning. Dave is back tomorrow. I know he's going to have a lot to talk about with the draft, with everything that's going to go down today and everything that's gone down since he last was on. So it will be a fun show tomorrow, but don't go anywhere because a fun show coming up next. Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. It's right around the corner.
Memphis Public Links has so much going on right now. Audubon is right around the fairway. Wait until you see when this thing is a finished product. Fox Meadows is in great shape. The Links at Pine Hill is now a masterpiece of a place to play, as are really all the other Memphis Public